Despite the fact that the 2020 Central States Numismatic Convention was cancelled, the US coin's signature auction was able to proceed, albeit in Dallas and largely in an online format, a trend which is becoming more and more prevalent as the year continues for obvious reasons. Not that you'd know from the auction results per se, as it still raised well over $20 million. Most people watching this video will no doubt be familiar with the 1943 steel pennies, and the reason for their existence. But what fewer may be aware of is that there is in fact a very large number of coins struck from some truly experimental materials. These include, but are by no means limited to, glass, plastic, paper, and a number of different metallurgic compositions. The coin here is one such experiment that was struck from an alloy of 86.4% tin, 8.4% antimony, 1.8% copper, and 1% vanadium. This ultimately unadopted composition was authenticated by NGC with a grade of XF details, and the coin was sold at auction for $5,040. One of the most enduringly popular coins in the Lincoln penny series, both for series collectors as well as variety specialists, is the 1969 S double die obverse Lincoln cent. After only the 1955, 58, and quite possibly perhaps the 1972 coin as well, it has some of the boldest doubling in the entire series, not to mention quite an interesting backstory attached to it as well. Then of course there's the fact that a number of high-grade examples that are known today were essentially discovered decades later even in coin rolls, making it a very compelling coin to search for. The current example was graded by PCGS as AU58 and managed to sell for $18,000 at the auction. The Continental Dollar of 1776 remains arguably one of the most iconic symbols of early American numismatics, and an absolute keystone in the soon-to-be post-colonial nation's journey to establish its own unique monetary system. Of the many varieties that do exist for this particular coin, the main distinguishing factor is the spelling of the word currency. On the present coin, the correct spelling is seen. However, another example exists where only a single R is used, and another still where an E is inserted between the C and Y to read currency. As with this, most coins are known to be struck in pewter, although a small number of coins do exist in both brass and silver as well. A lovely example of the Newman 3D variety was on offer here, which also includes the inscription of E.G. Fessett, meaning E.G. made it, implying that someone with the initials of E.G. had either designed the coin or engraved the dies with which they were struck. Graded by PCGS as MS64, the coin saw a closing price of $138,000 when the auctioneer's gavel fell. As the very first coins to be officially struck within the confines of the newly established US Mint in Philadelphia, the chain cent is a classic American rarity. The reverse design, from which the coin derives its name today, was inspired by the continental currency of 1776, where the 13 links on those pieces were expanded here to 15, representing the 15 states admitted to the Union. An unbroken chain, each leading into the next. Stronger together, all of that. The reality, however, was that most people did not interpret the symbolism in that particular frame of reference, but rather as a more literal, unfortunate reference to slavery, which caused the mint to abandon the design and switch over to a reef design instead within the same year, leaving a total mintage of 36,103 coins with the chains design, with a splendid example graded here as PCGS AU55 that saw the auction close with a price of $180,000. Though the Carson City Mint is by far best remembered for the production of larger denomination silver coins in the quarter to $1 range, which is of course only right, as the mint was largely established as a response to the discovery of silver in the now famous Comstock lode. Bullion and gold deposits were however also accepted, and in 1870 though, only a very small mintage of gold coins was actually achieved, with double eagles numbering only 3,789 pieces according to mint records. The entire mintage though, it seems, was released into circulation and then slowly whittled away, with no examples apparently saved by collectors until the only 35 to 45 coins remain today, with absolutely no examples known within the mint state range whatsoever. In fact, the finest known coin is only at a grade of AU55. Here we see a PCGS graded coin of VF30, which managed to attain $192,000 at auction. There are few relics so intrinsically tied to the California gold rush period as these Humbert $50 slugs. They have become a symbol of sorts of a specific time and a specific place for what is often an somewhat over-romanticized period of history. These octagonal $50 coins, or slugs as they were known at the time, were produced by the US Assay Office in California as a sort of stopgap measure until the US Mint could fully establish a working branch mint in the now gold-rich West Coast. The obverse has a repeating lattice-work pattern, very reminiscent of an antique pocket watch case. Not too surprising, as Augustus Humbert, who was appointed by Congress as the US assayer in California in 1851, was in fact a New York-based watchmaker by trade. The example here is graded as MS62 Plus by PCGS and attained $204,000 at auction. The allure and desirability of the proof Type 2 gold dollars are hard to fully express in words or properly quantify. By one example, which may serve to inform this situation, is a famous story of when renowned collector John J. Pittman secured his example of the 1855 proof Type 2 gold dollar in a 1956 coin auction. Instead of simply raising his auction paddle to outbid any other interested parties, as is the custom, he stood up, walked to the head of the room, turned his back on the auctioneer, and all the while holding his bidding paddle raised high above his head, he stood there staring his competition straight in the eye without saying a single word, letting everyone know that regardless of how high the bid was chased, the day would end with the coin in his possession. And indeed, so it did for what was at the time a very remarkable $225. Fast forward 60 plus years to 2020 and we have an NGC graded Proof 66 Ultra Cameo example, one of only 7 such coins known, that raised a slight premium of $282,000 at auction. Now, when you think of 1933 gold coins, the mind immediately jumps to the much-storied 1933 Double Eagle, and indeed rightly so, as it is a fascinating story in its own right. However, the 1933 Gold Eagle is the only 1933 gold coin, barring of course the King Farouk Double Eagle example, that is legal to own today. The official mintage figure is 312,500 coins, but it seems that no more than perhaps 40 coins managed to escape the mint before the gold recall of 1933 took effect in March of that year. Interestingly, the records of the cashier at the Philadelphia Mint only records 5 coins entering circulation officially. Today, the population report stands at 35 grading events for this particular issue, meaning that the remaining 30 plus coins were likely exchanged for lesser denominations by mint employees at the time. All known examples exist today in mint state range, with this particular piece slab at NGC as MS65, which saw it achieve a price of $360,000 at auction. And without any hesitation, the highlight of the auction simply has to be the magnificent 1858 Proof Gold Eagle, one of only 4 such coins to exist and the only coin that is available for private collectors to acquire, as the other 3 known examples are all currently in institutional or museum collections. In case you missed it, I already made a full video about that coin where I look at it in a bit more detail. An absolutely astounding example of an ultra rarity that was graded by NGC as Proof 64 Ultra Cameo and sold for the breathtaking price of $480,000 at auction. Subscribe to WNN and activate notifications with the bell icon to know when new videos are released. For the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you for watching, stay safe, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.